Good afternoon. It's 2:01 and we'll get started, although I suspect that other people will be popping in as we continue the hour. We want to welcome the people in the audience, the parents. This is an opportunity for you to hear about research opportunities at Boston University School of Medicine for our students. This is a very important part of their getting a residency. So the students will be coming home talking about research. And Dr. Matt Layne is our director of our program for medical student research and will be answering your questions. Matt?
Thank you very much. Yeah, so this is parental perspectives, and just make sure I can move my slides forward. Yeah. So thank you all for coming, and really wanted to thank you for taking the time out to talk with us about medical student research. And so just the plan for the discussion is I'll give a quick introduction about me, an overview of research at our medical school, go through some of the research opportunities and programs and the outcomes of research for our medical students. And I've highlighted in yellow some of the pre-meeting questions, and then I'll try to cover those. And of course, at the end, we can talk more about additional questions that come up. So by way of introduction, I'm a faculty member in the biochemistry and cell biology department. I got my PhD here a long time ago, I guess now. And I did my postdoctoral training and was faculty member at Harvard Medical School, BWH's Brigham and Women's Hospital. And this little map is, I guess I haven't gone far. I was my PhD, cross town, and then I returned here in 2007. And so I have an active research lab, and we're interested in the cellular and molecular mechanisms of fibrosis. And fibrosis is really just a abnormal wound healing process where scar tissue forms in organs, and we're trying to understand that at a cellular level and molecular level. In my role in the medical student research program, I've been the assistant dean of research since 2021. This is 3 years as of September, which it's amazing. It's gone very quickly. And really, I think my top level role is to facilitate outstanding research experiences for all our medical students. And that's students that really are passionate about research and really want it to be a substantial part of their medical education and potentially future careers. And also students that maybe just want to try out research or maybe only want to commit to a small, shorter term research project. So I think that really is my sort of my top level role, is really just being able to, help and guide the students in their research interests. Just a very quick overview of how our research program is organized. And I think for maybe 2 words that describe it is collaborative and really integrated. Collaborative meaning I work with all the different deans here. I don't know if anyone's able to attend with Dean Garg in medical education or Dean Jackson in student affairs, but we work with all the deans to really bring together a program for the students. And we have a monthly steering committee meeting, and it's made up of faculty, it's made up of students, where we discuss policies, we discuss, what's working in the program, what areas can be improved. And also, I'll talk more, the faculty also review the student research applications. And then we report to the deans, including Dean Antman and the other associate deans. And that's really to make sure the program is moving in the right direction, and really the outcomes are measurable, and we're really doing what's best for all our students. So I just want to have a couple quick mentions about our medical school, if you're not familiar with it. And these are some numbers from Dean Andy Taylor in research. And, we have a very large research enterprise here, multiple departments and sections, wet labs, computational spaces. And then on the medical campus, the research is in basic science departments. I'm not going to talk about the MD PhD program today, but maybe if there's a question about it, I could try to answer it. The graduate programs, there's clinical departments, of course, the School of Public Health and Dental School. And some of our students do research on the Charles River campus in Boston, including a number of students have gone to biomedical engineering or Sargent College or the new data science building. And also some of our students are doing research at some of the Boston VA hospitals, which is just a terrific place to do research. I just brought up this one example, and this really struck me of really the collaborative nature of the research here. And this is an example during COVID. where a lot of research shut down, but many groups came together to really tackle a really a really important problem. And that these were groups in the pulmonary center, of course, the needle building, which is a biosafety level 4, which really could investigate the SARS-CoV-2 virus, the Genome Science Institute Proteomics Center, the Center for Regenerative Medicine actually set up their own COVID testing facility with students and faculty. So this was, a small part in some of these studies, but it really, I think, illustrates how the research here is collaborative. And I think students often are the glue that, brings these different groups together. So there are a number of other centers that our students are working in, but I didn't really want to go through all, but I think that's just one example of sort of our culture here, which is collaborative. So for all the research programs, I think the top level learning objectives are really learning about the rules and procedures for performing research with biological systems, whether it's human research or more basic science research, and including biomedical information, because that's really the future of a lot of the research that we do. Large data sets and analyzing, and then really contributing those findings to the body of scientific knowledge. And that includes publication, being able to gather data, organize it, and of course, work with it in an ethical way. Thinking about, proficiency in lab skills or data processing skills, and developing really original scientific results that'll contribute to any number of fields of it. It could be clinical, it could be basic science, it could be public health, really any number of fields. And then one thing that we're focused on as well is really those outputs of the research, writing skills for manuscripts, presentation skills. And that's really, I think, an important thing that the students need to build upon. So I'm going to go through, I guess, fairly quickly the different programs and opportunities. And I have our webpage at the bottom. One thing we've worked very hard on is really to get all that information organized in a way for the students so that makes it accessible. So I'm going to go through the medical student summer program, the LEADS research track, the research year programs, and then the 3rd and 4th year electives. And then, of course, we can talk more about other things. So the LEADS research track, and LEAD stands for Learn, Experience, Advocate, Discover, and Serve. It's one of several tracks that the first year students join. The other ones include like global health, refugee health, racism in medicine, addiction medicine. But one of these tracks is research. And these are students that, really know they want to get started in research early. They identify and mentor in the fall of the first year. And then the curriculum has designated LEADS weeks, and some of those are for research. It includes our summer program, which I'll talk about next. And then these students will continue into their second year on that same project, where they'll assemble a small faculty advisory committee. And then during this time, we also have group meetings to discuss various research topics, including scientific method or human subjects, writing skills. And one thing that we are encouraging for the students that are interested is really these longitudinal research projects where students will stay, with the same research team, same mentor, and really develop expertise in whatever field, they're interested on. And I think the LEADS research track enables the students to do that by sticking with a project for the first 2 years. The medical student summer research program is something that's existed at BU for, I believe, nearly 25 years. So before I was in this role, this is a program that facilitates really intensive research in the summer between the first year. And I use M1 and M2, first year of medical school, second year of medical school, that first summer. And we also have several workshops, which I'll describe, to help the students build research skills. We provide stipends for these students in this program, and hopefully this will help offset, their housing costs. Many of our students live in the medical student residence or MSR, and help offset food costs. And, I'm really fortunate to have Dr. Shannon Fisher, as a partner. She's the director of the MSSRP, and together, she also helps students find opportunity. And one of the questions which I highlighted in yellow is the commitment to research during the summer. Yes, so it is a commitment in both the LEADS research track and the MSSRP, which are separate paths, to really say, yes, I really want to do research this first summer, and then potentially giving up, other opportunities or other activities that I might do in that first summer. So it's essentially a 7-week commitment of the 8-week summer. So a little bit more of the details of the summer program. As I mentioned, it's 7 weeks. It's with our faculty. It's in person, and that enables us to bring all the students together. So we usually have a workshop each week. We run a responsible conduct of research program. This is what's NIH mandated for a number of training grants, so that we talk about ethical dilemmas in research and protecting data and authorship. So it's really a terrific way for those students to get additional skills. We have a workshop on understanding the IRB, which is a human subjects research process. We bring in both junior faculty and more senior faculty as a clinician researcher panel, and they tell their own personal stories about how they became involved in research, how they balance research and clinical interest and care. And that's really been really a terrific way for the students to learn about those paths and techniques. We hold a research presentation skills, and Dean Antman comes, and it's really terrific to for the students to interact with Dean Antman, to learn about strategies for presenting information and organizing information and getting your message across. And really one of the themes of all the research program is really skill building. And so the students have an opportunity at the end of the summer to give a very short talk to get their message across, what was their goals of their research, what have they accomplished so far, if there are problems, what did they encounter, and what are their future plans. And then we also ask the students to write a written progress report on their science, because really those are the two outputs we have. We have talks, we have writing, we have posters, really to practice those research skills. One thing about the program is really, is this summer program right for a given student? And we meet with the students frequently. We tell them about the programs, and really, I think these questions of the students knowing early, and by early, I mean in their first year, that they want to include research as a part of their education. It doesn't mean if they don't participate in this, there aren't opportunities later, and I'll talk about those. But really coming into these summer programs as the potential trade-offs. For example, joining the LEADS research track, there are other terrific LEADS tracks, as I mentioned, global health. Maybe they're interested in that instead. Maybe they have other plans for the summer. In the curriculum, this may be the last summer with a good block of time. Maybe they need to relax. Maybe they have other interests, travel or volunteering or shadowing. And they're really thinking about their time during medical school of all those other activities and clubs that they want to do. And, research is time consuming. So thinking about, committing to the LEADS research track or the summer, really committing to that for 2 years. And then also there's a bit of logistics here. Students need to get organized, need to contact mentors, they need to apply, and I'll talk about the application process, either in the fall for the LEADS track or the spring for the summer program. So that's really, I think I covered, pretty quickly the first, 1 to 2 years of research opportunities. We also have research electives for the 3rd and 4th year students. The 3rd year or M3 research elective is a 4-week, relatively short block. And then the students in their 4th year can take 4 to 12 weeks of research blocks. These electives can be done on our campus. They can be done as away rotations. If there's a terrific research opportunity elsewhere, the students can use these research blocks. Or say a student has a project they've been working on from the 1st year, they could grab one of these research blocks and continue in their project, and maybe finish that paper or finish those last few studies that need to be wrapped up to get that paper out. And students have also used these elective blocks to, maybe just explore a new clinical research area, maybe just this M3 block, I'm just going to try something different. or potentially use it to build expertise in area, or really even thinking about preparation for residency. So students use these research electives in sort of different ways. We also support a research year program. I know talking about an extra year may be, I don't know, painful. Medical school is 5, not 4 years. But this is an option for students, either after the second year or after the third year. And there's really 2 paths for the research year program. We have a relatively newer program where if students want to take an extra year for research and they stay with BU faculty, they remain being full-time students, and the tuition credits for those research credits, they're scholarshiped by the school. Students can also participate in external research programs. This is done through a leave of absence because they're no longer, our students. And really, there are terrific external programs. For example, the NIH, Sarnoff Foundation, the Medical Scholars Research Fellowship. And I've helped, numerous students apply for these programs and given mock interviews. So I think, sometimes these external opportunities are really something that students are eager to participate in, and they really can provide, a new research environment, and then also learning new skills. So that's the research year program. So for all of these programs that we have, from the summer to the third year to the research, we have a sort of essentially a standardized application process where the student applies, it's routed automatically to the mentor. We collect additional information from the mentor, and then this is routed to the committee. We have our research advisory committee. And I think overall this process, it's relatively quick, it's easy, and it really enables us to ensure that the research the students are engaged in is rigorous, they're working with outstanding mentors, and likely they're going to be doing research that contributes to their field in a meaningful way. I could go in detail through the application, but really the key is that the students are working with mentors to design the project. We really don't want to see students like just coming up with a research project on their own and maybe trying to find a mentor to work on that, because the mentors are those that are expert in the field, and really their grants and their funding are those that are, these innovative projects that we really want the students to be joining rather than designing, their own. Of course, as they gain experience, they're going to contribute more and more to the interpretation of the findings, the directions of the project, and so forth. So the student and the mentor will come up with a plan. We ask about the research type, whether it's clinical or public health or translational, project title, what their goals are and results. We ask the mentor a little bit about them and their support of the student, what resources they have. And we do ask about appropriate approvals, because all research, whether it's in a laboratory or with human subjects, needs those approvals. And these can be time consuming. So that's another reason why we want the students joining these, because these projects are usually just ready to go. That the student can, join, do a little bit of initial training, and then get started on the research. Our committee reviews them, really carefully. We want to make sure that the student and the mentor, they have plans. We look for this connection. We look for that the student has an idea about their plans, their experiments or research. The projects are feasible. We do think about the mentor, that the mentor is available, committed to the student. There's resources available for the project. And then, of course, applications need to be on time, approvals in place. And at least for the summer programs, we do want the students to be here so that they have the opportunity to interact with other researchers, to join our workshops, to attend conferences and seminars. So we want to really have our students here as a cohort for the summer program. So I tried to summarize all the programs sort of in one slide. And really it boils down to, are these research opportunities with our faculty, and are the students receiving academic credit? So, for the MSSRP, yes, with our faculty and leads with our faculty. The leads does have a curricular component, so they are getting credit for this. The third and fourth year electives are credit bearing, and they can be with our faculty, but they're not required to be with our faculty. And then there are two sort of flavors of a research year with our faculty, and they will get academic credit, or research year external, and that is through the leave of absence process. And one thing I didn't talk about, so I really focused on our programs, but students also, of course, can engage in independent mentored research. So, a student could start, a first-year student could start today doing research with our faculty. They could choose to do research, someplace else in Boston. Of course, that's permitted, what students do, with their free time. And then sometimes these independent projects, of course, could move and to become an elective later on as they advance. So I guess that's the summary of our program. One of the questions that came up is, how do students find mentors and research opportunities? And I think this is probably, a big part of my role. We do spend a lot of time recruiting faculty, asking them about different research opportunities, with the understanding that, medical students are different from undergraduates. Medical students are different from PhD students, that they have a day job, which is being a medical student and learning how to be a clinician. So part of that is matching the expectations and the time and getting the right projects. So we do post numerous opportunities on our webpage. We have group sessions with the students. We held a session last week. The title was How to Find a Mentor, and we had 108 of the first year class show up, which was just terrific. In the fall, we hold faculty student lunches or short talks. So we invite 4 faculty to come in and tell the students about their research and what their goals are. And this has been a terrific way of the students not only learning about what research is happening here, but also a way of making connections and matching students. And we've had a very good, I guess, success rate of matching those students to the faculty that presented. And then also have a number of one-on-one advising meeting with students. We talk about, your interests and what your goals are. And I think we've, Dr. Fisher and I, we have a lot of knowledge of our faculty colleagues and what they do and opportunities that exist here for research. So these is just a few examples of ways that we help students, find research opportunities. And I guess sometimes I say I have like a matchmaker role, connecting the faculty and the students. But one other question that came up, which it's a really important one, which is really thinking about research about a specialty that, might be several years down the road, and what type of research. And we get this question a lot. And so sometimes students are, I absolutely want to be an epidemiologist, a cardiac epidemiologist, right? I'm really interested in one thing. And then we can say, yes, well, we'll point you to many of the colleagues at Framingham Heart, Amelia Benjamin, for example. That's easy. But some students are, unsure of what they want to do in the future, and that's absolutely fine. So generally, we'll recommend building skills, more general skills. Maybe it's just, analyzing clinical data, or maybe a student's interested in cancer biology and they can join a group that, has patient samples, and maybe it's a hybrid project between lab work and clinical specimen. I guess I feel all research is useful, but I think in the beginning, it's often best to train with an outstanding mentor, explore multiple areas, and then one strategy the students can take is, after building some of those skills, use the third and fourth year to maybe more specialize after their clinical interests are a little bit more focused. And they could use, for example, the research electives at that time, or maybe even take a research year in that particular area. So it's a hard question. There really isn't a clear answer, but I guess I look at it mostly about building skills initially, and then as time goes on, maybe the research focus will change. And I'll give maybe as an example, I'm certainly not working on the same areas that I started on, and research interests and projects change. So I think building that foundation is important for those students to, if they want research as part of their career, or even are interacting with others, that the foundational skills are probably, the most important. We do have a number of events, and I think I mentioned the research lunches with faculty. We have a number of program information sessions. So the Lee's research track, we always have a session in the fall. We have a session for the medical student summer research program in the spring. We've been holding a meeting about research and residency with Dean Angela Jackson. Dean Jackson is in charge of the Student Affairs Office, and her office really is expert in all things residency matching. And we spend a lot of time talking to the students, and I work with Dean Jackson on that. We also hold in the spring of each year a medical student research symposium, and this is really a terrific event. Faculty, students come, the medical students present posters, the students in the summer programs present their work from that previous summer. We select a number of students for short talks. So that's really an event I look forward to really see like sort of the breadth and depth of the research that's happening here. I think last year we had 75 posters and 6 short talks. So I fully expect that number will grow into the next year. One thing that I'm keen on, and I think all the students are also, is really the outcomes of the research. Students are definitely eager to publish. They're eager to attend conferences. And I spend a good bit of time really closely tracking these outcomes. It helps us, I think, to be better advisors to the students, knowing if they join particular groups that, previous students have had, successful research experience there. It's also, I think positive student outcomes are a reflection of our program in general. SCOMSA, which is the medical student government, also has funds for conference travel. And that really is a good opportunity for students to, maybe get that first part of the project organized, present it to experts in the field and other trainees. And then also gives them an opportunity for networking. And I think, networking and research can't be overlooked. I mean, these are, being able to interact with leaders in the field. So I think students, publications is one measurable, conference presentations, of course, is measurable, participation is measurable. So I think, the research outcomes are, very important to all of us. We had a question about authorship, and authorship is something that's important and, can be a point of, a struggle, if you will. And yes, the BU does have authorship guidelines, and students that participate in research have an important contribution to the design, the interpretation, the writing. Yes, that is what defines authorship, this intellectual contribution to the research. There are always occasional I don't want to say disagreements about being included as an author, but sometimes order, who's first, who's second, who's co-first, who's fourth. There's one of the questions was, yes, there's a, defined Boston University dispute resolution. Of course, it's usually easiest to start with talking to the mentor. And that's what when I talk to students about this, it's like, talk to the mentor, describe what your thoughts and feelings are. We have an ombuds office, which is just a terrific group. Department chairs can help with this resolution. Dean Antman, if that's not satisfied, and if there's still like not a resolution, this could go to the vice president or associate provost for research. So there is a defined process if there is a, I guess, concern or remedy in place. So we hope it doesn't get to that. Usually, I think all the mentors that I've worked with here, they're reasonable, that, they want what's best for their trainees. They want to work with their colleagues, and these tend not to be too big of problems. I haven't really encountered too many. One thing that came up in the questions, and one thing that we spend a lot of time talking to the students about, is residency. And I mean, Dean Antman mentioned this at the beginning, how, research involvement and residency matching. And this is really Dean Jackson's area of expertise. I'm learning a lot from Dean Jackson, but there are no simple answers, and there's really not one specific formula for research. Part of this came about because of the Step 1 boards, which the students take. They are now pass-fail, they're not scored. So some students feel that I need to, add things to my total package, application package for residency, and research is one of those things. And then the residency advising is all done through the Student Affairs Office, and that really is a resource that I think all the students take advantage of. And as I mentioned, we hold workshops with Dean Jackson to discuss this topic. Mostly, Dean Jackson dispels myths and rumors, Reddit misinformation, I will say. Sometimes the students will say, well, I heard if I want to match in specialty X, I need 45 papers. And then we have this conversation with students. Well, how is that possible? That's like 1 paper a month for your time in med school. That just can't be true. So one thing we do encourage is quality, quality over quantity, really pieces of work that are contributing to that field, whatever that field may be. And that's something I think that's going to be much more meaningful for a student, to really be involved in research that is really changing the way people think about that problem or that disease or that clinical uncertainty that they don't know. There are certain specialties, derm, orthopedic surgery, otolaryngology, and other surgical specialties that really may have higher expectations for research, or research that's matched in that discipline rather than research in general. And my understanding also is that, certain residency programs do have more research intensive residency programs versus maybe others that are less so. So I think part of that is really up to the student, what their interests are, what they see themselves doing. But this is an area that, there are some bits of data, but it's not like it's so simple. I say, like, if you want to match in dermatology, you need to do, 2 years of dermatology research and end up with 4 papers, and that is a guarantee. So we mostly encourage students, doing research that they're passionate about, that they're interested in. Research is hard. It's a lot of failure. So if you're doing things that you care about and, you really want to work hard at, then, I mean, at least that to me, I think is, more enjoyable part of research. So this is really an evolving area. And I think if people had more questions, Dean Jackson or potentially Dean Antman could also answer some of these as well. So I know I spoke a little bit quickly, but I wanted to save time, mostly for questions. So I really just like to summarize, like, really the vast majority of our students will include some research during their time here. That can be just a little bit of research, or it could be, quite a substantial amount of research as their time as a medical student. We've put together, I hope, what's considered like a really integrated program that enables students to identify mentors, to work with mentors, and really include as little or as much research as they want during their time here. And I'm personally committed, and I think as a medical school, we're really committed to advising these students and guiding them. And one goal, but not the only goal, is to help train that next generation of physician scientists. I also consider it a success of our program, if a student learns, like, what, research isn't for me, and I learned that, and that helps them think about their next steps. Or maybe they learn, I've done, basic science cancer research. That's really not for me. I really want to do more data science, or I really want to do more patient-focused research. That's great too. That it enables students to sort of narrow their path. And but I think the top level is, all the research they're doing is high level, innovative, and contributing hopefully in a meaning way to whatever field they choose to work in. So I just wanted to share my contact information, and Regina, I guess you could share with the attendees. If someone had an additional question, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk. I'd be happy to answer it if I can, or if I don't know the answer, I could reach out to any one of my colleagues who would know the answer. And I guess with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions if they're in the chat. I can't see the chat, but they're there, I'll answer them.
Dr. Layne, I just want to say thank you for taking time. For our audience members, I see some familiar names. Many of you were here on campus just around August 5th to witness the white coat of your first years. And this past Monday, the first years also received their stethoscopes on the medical equipment day. And significantly enough, these stethoscopes are donated by alumni. It's a way of paying it forward to those that are coming after them. And so these are some of the things that have currently been going on campus. And based on our first two webinars, there were many questions from the audience about research. Please feel free to use the chat. If there's a specific question that was not answered, Dr. Layne did give us a lot of information, and we will be providing follow-up with an email with specific contact information. And know that your students specifically have heard these messages and had these opportunities to engage with research. So I'm not seeing anything in the chat, but feel free. Dr. Layne, can you give an example perhaps of a recent summer research and the outcome that the student and mentor had?
Oh my gosh, there's such a wide variety of projects. Maybe I can just give two quick examples. So one student was working, trying to understand neurodegeneration and developing machine learning, AI tools, looking at brain scans and how they can use some of that imaging information as predictive tools. We had another student working in a cancer biology lab here with Dr. Gerald Dennis. In that project, the student really had a hybrid of taking tumors, breast cancer tumors, and studying these things called exosomes. And exosomes are these small little membrane-bound packets of information that can be taken away from cells, secreted from cells. They can travel through the blood and they can signal to other cells. And it's an exciting area. And the student was isolating these exosomes from human blood and then established a little panel of cells in vitro to see how those cells would react to those. We had students working in cardiovascular fields, studying electronic cigarettes' effect on vascular endothelial cells. So these are the cells that line the blood vessel wall, and they're reactive. They contribute to blood pressure regulation. And the idea for this project was some of these smoking-derived products would affect endothelial cells. I could go on and on. Most of these students, I would say 99% plus of all our students are sticking with these projects. And I think as Dean Antman could also tell, it takes time to build a body of knowledge to develop a paper. So a lot of these students, are working on these projects in the fall, and that's one reason why we have our symposium in the spring, because that enables the student to I got my project really moving along in the summer. I continued during the fall, and then we usually see those really more mature projects in the spring. So that's just a dabbling of a couple different projects.
Thank
I'm
you.
kind of curious. I'd like to turn this around a bit. All of the people on this session presumably are parents with a student. I would really, really want to know how many of you have students who have already done research and how many are parents whose student hasn't started research yet and therefore you're curious. And for the students, for the parents of students who have already done research, what do your students say? What do they think that we could do better? What would they be interested in? But particularly, what do they think that we could do better to make this a better experience for your student? And that would actually help the parents whose students haven't started yet. So it would be helpful to actually have some of you turn on your videos so that you could put up your hand and ask questions, or tell us what your student has liked or not liked about the program. Looks like they're all shy. Okay, so my student participated. Okay, so we have a chat here. Or maybe I can't get access to it because when I hit chat, it doesn't actually work. Let's see. Oh, here we go. We have a person who's asking, how's the research year taken through BU represented on a medical student's transcript? And then we have Inderjeet Singh, who says, my student participated in M1 research. I really need to ask him about the experience. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell us what we should fix if you haven't had that discussion already. But maybe Matt could answer the question, how do we put the research on the transcript?
So for the students that are engaging in research with our faculty, it's essentially we're having the students register for 2 courses. One is a fall course, research credits, and then the second is a spring semester research credit. So that is showing up on the transcript. The students that are engaged in research that's not here, that's through what's called a leave of absence. So the students make a petition through the student affairs office. They say, next year I'm going to be not here, not as a student. And some students also take that opportunity to not do like a full research year. They could say, I maybe just need a little bit of break. I need a little bit of deceleration. But during that year away, I want to do some research. And I think that's been successful for some students as well.
I do want to emphasize that although there are credits involved, we scholarship the students for the credits. So it doesn't cost anything to get this. By virtue of giving them credit, we then make them eligible for federal loans and that sort of thing if they want to get room and board. In some cases, they get stipends for the room and board if they're doing full-time research.
If I may just add one small point. So there is a second advantage for the students if they do take a research year here. Our registrar, Liza Bates, will certify them as being full-time. They're doing full-time research. So if a student has, for example, undergraduate student loans, these won't come due. And that's an important consideration as well. So they are, our students, they're full-time students, and they're not engaged in clinical training, but they're engaged in research during that year.
And about 70 or 80% of the students get a paper out of this that they discuss during their residencies and that sort of thing. For some people, they discover that they have found their calling and end up being academics and do research in clinical research or collaborations and that sort of thing for their career. And some of them, as Matt said, find out that they hate it and they now know that that's not going to be part of their career.
Yeah, I see a specific, I guess, yes, I know Gabby's doing terrifically well with Dr. Kohong in obstetrics and gynecology. So I think this is a really terrific opportunity to really delve into a project, and some of these projects are clinical or hybrid of basic science. There are all sorts of projects that the students are in. So yes, and I'm glad to see, I know there was a problem with the tuition, so it's a little bit specific, but I'm glad to see, I know that's been resolved, so. Our registrar was on that.
Yeah, the registrar made it right.
Any other questions, maybe from first-year parents who have not had this opportunity yet?
Maybe,
Okay,
I mean,
go
if I
ahead, Dr. Layne.
may I ask a question of the parents? Are you hearing like anxiety about residency from the students? Like they're anxious or concerned? Because I, you know, that's part of the discussions I have often with students, and I didn't know if they were relaying that back home as well.
And
Nothing.
Dr. Layne, when you're talking about anxiety, are you thinking that students feel they have to add research in to be more viable for residency?
Yeah, I think, and that's really, I think, part of, as I mentioned, the collaborative nature of, you know, the students have multiple advisors, and including advisors through Dean Jackson's office, and I guess I serve, you know, in a way as a research advisor, and really helping the students understand, you know, expectations, and, you know, what is true, what is not true, what is, you know, and what are strategies, right? Strategies in planning, and especially as it relates to research. So yeah, there is anxiety, but there's also time. I think there's also time for the, you know, I think in the first week of for the M1s, the new students, I probably met 15 of them in the first week, and they're all like, "Oh, I gotta get going on research." And usually the conversation is, yes, but you also need to figure out studying and curriculum and how much time you have. And so that's why we held the meeting last week about, you know, how to find mentors. So I think many of the students, the first years, are well on their way, I think well on the way to get going. And I've already heard of several that have essentially started. So that's good to hear.
So we have the text about from Heather Walk. I may be pronouncing that wrong, about their M2 student who's trying to find a research position. We try to encourage the students to develop a relationship or get into a research program that's NIH funded or federally funded, because those have been peer reviewed. They're really rigorous research, and they'll really get a better education. We have a list of more than 100 faculty who are principal investigators on grants. And the wonderful thing about NIH grants these days is that they're very broad. They go everything from basic biological research to how we deliver healthcare efficiently and effectively at low cost. So, and these are all funded programs, and we have tons of faculty along that continuum. If somebody wants to do epidemiology, we have whole groups that do epidemiology. If somebody wants to do Ebola research, they'll have to go through a fair amount of training in order to be allowed to do that, but we do have it. Lots and lots of cardiovascular or cancer research, that sort of thing. Alzheimer's disease. We have faculty who are internationally known for chronic traumatic encephalopathy and other sports related injuries and that sort of thing. So there should be something that interests them, that's funded, that has already undergone a peer reviewed process, so that we know it's really, really high quality research. And so when they get their paper and have conversations with colleagues, the research will be well received, especially when they're going for their residencies.
Thank you, Dean.
I would just like to offer, if you speak to your student and you said, "Hey, I went to this meeting," you know, I know many of them, at least just by the names, but please remind them that I'm here and ask them to reach out to me, especially if they're looking for an opportunity or trying to find a mentor.
So I see that the email from Mr. Singh, or probably Dr. Singh, is collaborating on research. We have a lot of AI and data analytics, both at the university and at the medical school. So if you send an email to Regina Garland or to me, we can figure out how we might be able to collaborate. We have internships. We have a pharmacology department that has internships with all of biotech all over Boston. It's really terrific to get medical students and PhD students in pharmacology into biotech for an internship. They learn all about new drug development. So, and we're certainly interested in having relationships with industry. Some of the best lectures on new drug development are actually given by people who have faculty appointments, but actually have who are working in industry because of these collaborations. It's Boston. It's a great place to be doing biotech.
Wonderful. Do we have any more questions? Okay. Well,
Just,
again,
I'd like to say that if you do hear from your student that there's an issue, please, kind of just send us an email or whatever. We'd be happy to have your student discuss it, ideally, but would be happy to discuss it as well. And if they have great ideas, they shouldn't be shy about contributing them. And we like to beta test different strategies.
this is great. Dean Antman and Dr. Layne, I am very grateful that you both took time to speak with the parents. Some of these topics have been top of mind for many of the parents as their students are starting to chatter a little bit about research and their experiences. And to the parents out there, many of whom I have had the pleasure of meeting, please know we're going to follow up with an email that will summarize this and give you some information, especially what Dr. Layne has shared. Your students have this information and have been able to engage with faculty in research. So know that the opportunities are there, and a little proactiveness on their part will definitely get them engaged. And as we start into the fall, my travel schedule, along with my colleague Suzanne Maselli, will be picking up. If you hear from us by email or by telephone, please take us up on the opportunity to connect in your hometown. This is a great chance for us to learn a little bit more about your student, for us to share some of the updates that Dean Antman and her leadership team have been working on at the school. Seeing as there are no other questions, Dean Antman, Dr. Layne, are there any closing comments that you would like to make?
If I may, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming, and it's really been my pleasure interacting with all your students. They're really, really amazing, and I learn a lot from them as well. And just please relay the message that I'm here to support them and help them. And there's a lot of us on this team. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Layne. And again, Dean Antman, thank you. I think we see some future doctors that will definitely excel in their fields. And we are grateful for the medical education that they are getting at the Chobanian and Avedisian School of Medicine. And with that, we are 5 minutes to the hour, which we will give back to your day. Thank you to all the parents, and we'll see you soon, either on campus or in your hometown.
Thank you.
Thank you.